Greeting everyone. This is Orvi from SCB 10X, and I'm glad to be a moderator for this session, which is about the convergence of AI and blockchains. And today's session is about the trust infrastructure for agent economies. And I'm very happy to have our speaker today, Soren, to joining us for this session. Sean, how about you give us a quick introduction about yourself and what Sahara AI has been building?
Sure. Thank you for having me. I'm Soren. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Sahara AI, also an associate professor at University of Southern California in the United States. We started Sahara AI really with the vision of building a decentralized AI blockchain platform that can prioritize sovereignty and provenance of AI, which is trying to ensure security, equity, and accessibility of AI for all the users. And as of today, we are seeing Sahara AI branching into, I would say, two landscapes. One being creating applications that reach all of the Web3 and even Web2 users with the crypto kind of utility, which is the Soren crypto investment agent that is trying to really power every single individual users with 24/7 investment advising and sort of advisor agents that can power their personal investment experiences. And then behind that, we are also building the whole landscapes of infrastructure that power the privacy preserving technologies and proof of guardrail for the agents that ensure the user informations and the ownerships is well defined and protected so that when the agents is using other people's tools or data, or your data and tools being used by the other agents, everyone can get properly compensated and sort of all of the contribution got properly attributed using our infrastructure. So that's what we are focusing on today.
Awesome. So I think there are both two lanes that are kind of complementing each other, and that what makes Sahara pretty unique. And for anyone who is new here, Sean actually has been our speakers before, and in your previous discussion with us, SCB 10X, Sean, you mentioned a lot about one of the lane, which is about attribution and provenance and the fair economic participation across the AI lifecycle. But the shift about AI agent has just come recently, especially big in 2026, and moving toward more on the autonomous system. So I would like to ask you that from this movement, what do you think has changed technologically or strategically that make agent has become a big next focus of Sahara?
Yeah, I think it's just inevitable that everyone need to embrace the agentic era, right? Basically, we are. I think the fundamental changes here is coding agents or coding capabilities of these large foundational models has become so powerful, such that any lay users like you and me become equipped with all these available tools and capabilities to create programs, to create applications, to create agents of themselves in a very personalized, very customized way. But in this process of creating personalized agents, you are not only just using your own data, you're also not only just using those sort of a common mainstream commercial language model APIs like from OpenAIs or Claude. Also, you need to use a lot of informations on the internet contributed by other people, so that the question of compensation and properly attributing people's contribution has never become less important. Actually, it could become even more critically important these days. right? Because if you eventually want to build a fair economics around this agentic world where large number of agents are interacting with each other to achieve more complex task and to build a more successful kind of applications, you need to build on other people's resources still. But we cannot imagine everything just become open source and there's no economic values exchanges in this new paradigm. So I think it's still a very burning questions of how to solve the problem of attribution and fair compensations in the era of agents.
Yeah, yeah. So it has become even bigger because there are a lot of more potential transactions and agent might become an economic actors in the future, right? So my next question is probably for you to dive a little bit more deeper into what does the infrastructure challenges has been having right now. So like from your previous focus about attribution to currently about agents and autonomous system, would it be more about defining permissions, constraint, or trust boundary between these agents?
Yeah, I think right now there's I would say at least like two big problems we are focusing on the infrastructure layer for agents. Number one being how do we properly protect the users' data securities and user privacy? I think this is like a long-lasting problem. For example, if you have some very proprietary informations about investments and trading, the last thing you want to do is you give out this information to some third-party large models, APIs, and then those APIs observe this data, and for some reasons they use it to update the model, and your information actually get secretly distributed out to many other peoples, right? So that's like the things that we want to prevent it happen. And this is very tricky to achieve technically because you have to feed data to the third-party server nodes that sits on the cloud to do processing, to do model inferences. And then you get the outcomes back to your local devices. That's the typical process of how information got propagated from your local node to the cloud remote node and then come back to your local node. But I think one promising technology here to address the problem is this end-to-end TE or trusted execution environment based privacy protection solution that we are building in-house as well. The vision is that we can create a TE environment on the remote cloud node. And in that environment, you can feed the encrypted informations from your local to that environment and then got decrypted and then got processed and then got the output and then the output got encrypted again and sent it back to your local to be used. So this solution makes sure that in the middle of this whole in processing, your information will be protected and also be proven to be protected throughout the process. That's like one big solution we are developing right now in-house to do the privacy protection. And then another equally important, I think, part is how do you do attributions of these people's data that are used by your model inferences in order to achieve some important results or outcome. That question, right now, we have a version of the solution that can basically specify people's contribution on a smart contract in a predefined way, in a more like templated way. But I think we are also working very hard towards building a solution that can automatically calculate people's data's contribution based on a particular prediction of the model, which is more like a in a more like a contextualized way. So that's the two problems that I think we are really thinking it's still very relevant as of today.
Oh yeah, okay. So given that you have been building the infrastructure and as well as some, customer-facing products such as your new product, Soren, which, not just an AI to recommend some financial advices, but also, help with execution, monitoring markets, interacting with wallets, and, deal with some trading strategies. Like maybe could you walk us through how Soren works, from, taking those financial actions and also preserve the privacy and trust that you have been working on?
Yeah, sure. So when we build Soren, I think we are envisioning a typical user funnel or like a user experiences coming to um, um, about like personal investments and sort of investing advising. So usually you are interested in certain type of assets, or you are interested in certain kind of investment mandates. You come to a a sort of news and these like what we call signals that are talking about these assets, and then you have a bunch of questions you actually want to ask to understand these assets better, right? For example, if you're interested in looking into some of the AI tokens, um, in sort of because of the recent pump of these tokens, like this is your starting point, but you probably know very little about these AI tokens, historically, how they are performing, and also in terms of their recent price movements and in terms of their fundamentals, right? In terms of the trading kind of volumes and how that changes in the past. So you need a portal where you ask these questions, you make analysis, and then you understand better what they are. And then you start asking about the strategies, suggestions of how you invest into these tokens. What is a good price point you can enter? What is the strategies you can exit, right? What are the signals you can use to pick some tokens out of the others? So then you have from basically information gathering to analysis to strategy recommendation. And then finally, if you are happy about this strategy, you might be asking the agent to monitor some of these signals that you will be used to trigger some transactions or execution actions about these assets, right? So the execution comes as the last, which also closely bundled with monitoring of some market signals about its access. So that's like a kind of a very common workflows of the user, and it repeats every day or every week, depending on the type of trading this user does, right? Also depending on the kind of user. But the majority of the users in this market today are like intermediate users who are oftentimes just copy other people's ideas, or like they follow other people's sort of what to talk about, even though they have their personalized behaviors after they hearing about some of the assets, right? So we want to create like Soren, which are able to satisfy these whole workflows in the form of a personal system. There's not only just like a chat window that you can ask question, but there's also a portfolio kind of a portal which can check many of your wallets accounts, right? From SEX or DEX. And then it also it's cross market. It handles not just typical cryptocurrency tokens, but it handles tokenized stocks, prediction markets, and many other type of assets that satisfy different user mandates. And it also runs 24/7. If you set up the monitor, it sends you messages on telegrams or emails so that you can come back and execute some of the items that the recommended strategies will suggest you to do. So it's a sort of an end-to-end 24/7 personalized investment advisor for you that is not only just does research, but it also give you personalized recommendations of strategy and help you execute them down the road.
I see. And in my understanding, you also have another product called Crawl App. Maybe you can give a little bit introduction about that as well. And then I think I would like to hear more about what is the hardest part of, you know, building both Soren and Crawl apps, and what specific challenges that they are together trying to solve?
Yeah. So when OpenClaw just came out, I think, or like just become really popular, within a week, we realized that the biggest hinder for lay users to use OpenClaw is the installations and setup process on your local laptops or your local devices, right? So we try to solve that first problem. So become a entirely just open source contribution where we create this like a Mac app and then later a Windows app where people can just download and just follow a few clicks. They can set up OpenClaw on their local computer and use it, right? And I think back then another motivation for us to do this is we can allow the OpenClaw ecosystem users install the OpenClaw really easily and then start using, say, Soren skills to basically equip their OpenClaw agents with very strong information, market informations, uh, strategy recommendations, and even execution capabilities from Soren, but just on their OpenClaw agents. So this basically connects our capabilities from Soren to the whole OpenClaw ecosystem, but also make it really accessible to lay users.
Yeah, and what is the stage of both right now? Like in terms of agent native payments, are they be able to connect with your wallets and already be able to pay for the services and, kind of help with the money movement? Like what is the stage of them right
Yeah,
now?
right now on Soren desktop app, we have the web app, which is heysoren.ai. And then there you can also download the desktop app for both Windows and Mac. On the desktop app, you have a lot of flexibility of managing your portfolios connected to different accounts, right? You can connect to Binance, OKX, you can connect to a bunch of wallets. You can connect to Hyperliquids and many others like prediction market, like Polymarket. And then if you want fully autonomous sort of execution capability, which means like the agent can execute stuff without your permission. If you give this permission to the agent, then you can use our agentic wallet options where it basically initiate a self-custodian wallet. And you can put money into there that this agent wallet basically can be autonomously leveraged. But if you're using other third-party wallets like a MetaMask, for example, you can still you can still let the agent run with that wallet, but it need consents from you, and need signature from you whenever there's like important actions gonna be taken. So it's semi-autonomous, right? It's not fully autonomous in that case. So that's the trade-off.
I see. I think this kind of link back to blockchain convergence again as well. Like given that, to become a fully autonomous system, um, I like I wonder whether you have seen any issue with like the traditional rails and like whether they are able to be able to offer something like this, or blockchain is actually the only kind of solution or infrastructure that is more agent ready. What is your take on that?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think we've seen very interesting recent sort of developments in this sector. I guess like the whole crypto community think it's a huge use case of blockchain or stable coins these days is the agentic payment or this micro payment, right? Because you pay very little, but you need fast settlements, very low fees. And that seems like a natural kind of uh, directions that the stable coins can allows people to do versus the traditional payment rails. You might be imagining a very kind of complicated sort of a credit card authentication based sort of mechanisms and so on and so forth, right? That's like I would say maybe a year ago what people would imagine, but I think recently we've seen very interesting outcome where the traditional payment rails, such as Stripe, they are doing much faster movements on supporting micropayments. and connecting to agents like they work with OpenAI, for example, that allows very efficient sort of micro payment operations on just like a fiat, right? Versus on I think stablecoin aspects, the gas fee is still some sort of concerns for very small payments, such as like a $0.5 or like a $0.1 type of transactions, right? Which happen sometimes depending on like what you are purchasing. You might be just purchasing a few data points from other people's data APIs. So I think it's hard to say who is the clear winner as of
Mhm.
now. Yeah, so I'm actually pretty interested, very looking forward to the developments down this year on this space.
Yeah, I agree. Still a lot of things emerging, but still, I still wanted to hear your take on this. Like, what is your take on like what do you like bet for, or like which path are you more excited on?
Yeah, my point of view is actually about what we always talk about is the distribution, right? So
Mhm.
the biggest challenge right now is like the merchant um, are not actually using stable coins or cryptocurrency as a they are received sort of a currency or settlement currencies as much as we thought, right? Regardless if we're talking about USDC or USDT, not to mention other stable coins. So I think the adoption from the traditional e-commerce or the merchants is the biggest problem. In terms of that, I mean, I think Stripe is doing much better job, or like let's say the other kind of a payment, like even like Google Pay is having much better adoptions or distribution channel. So naturally, if they can address the question of making agentic payments really convenient in terms of the UX UIs through their infrastructure, then I think they actually have a better advantage in terms of the adoptions in the agentic payment era compared to stablecoin. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
and I think that leads to another important question, which is about, your take on decentralizing economic relationship with AI. Like given that, there's a chance that big players like Google Pay and Stripe probably have a lot of advantages. I wonder whether you see um, the agent ecosystem become kind of centralized, allow these players, or these only handful dominant platform, or you see that there could be a long-term risk on that, and we should try to build on the decentralized path again. Yeah.
yeah. I think these are like two kind of orthogonal problems, right? So agentic payment infrastructure is one question we just talked about, but I think attribution and ownership is another problem that is not like conflicting with the agentic payment infra. Even if you're using Stripe to do payment, you still have the question of like, are you paying the resource, the services you are using properly, right? In a sort of a trustworthy way, right? My agent's probably gonna call dozens of different APIs that are owned by the other people. I should be paying each one properly when I'm executing when my agent is executing task, right? So that that compensations and attributions question is still exists regardless of whether you are using stablecoin as the payment or using Stripe as the payment, right? So I think the economic relationship is still decentralized and need to be fair, even though the payment infrastructure might be centralized, as we discussed, right? Because it's better adoptions or more efficient nature.
Right. Yeah, given that, agent will likely become persistent economic actors, and we still have two separate questions between payment infrastructure and, attributions perspective. Which part do you think is the harder to solve, and why is that?
Yeah. I think I actually think the payment infra, the payment role is not the hardest problem, right? I still think the privacy protections, the ownership is the hardest part to solve. And there's no like very clear solution yet. Which is like the question of like if my agent keep giving out informations to another hundreds of agents, I'm basically giving out my proprietary informations to others, and I lose track of my informations down the road, right? Because those hundreds of agents can then propagate and talk to another thousands of agents, and then basically everyone knows the information. So if I really want to monetize some of the proprietary information, like for example, if I'm a realtor, I have proprietary information about some houses, right? And I basically make a living based on those proprietary information because I make my salary based on the information gaps that I'm owning right now. But if now an agent replace myself and try to talk to the other people's agent to sell the houses, if they are working in a 24/7 in a very large scale autonomous way, the information gap will quickly be closed if my information just get propagated without any protections or compensation. So I think that question is actually the hardest one right now. Because of that problem, I guess this is like a blocker or like a bottleneck right now for our agent to do a lot of economic activities, because we are just like scared of losing our sort of ownership of important proprietary informations if I just give it to the agent. So I think tracing of how this information got propagated and compensate along the way properly is the hardest problem to solve at scale.
Right. If that is able to be achieved, what kind of use cases do you think will unlock, and even beyond what your products are currently doing? Like, but given that the attribution and infrastructure is ready, what are you most excited to see to be unlocked probably in the next 12 months?
Yeah, I think if we can solve the problem that I was talking about of giving people attributions on the important informations they are contributing through the agent, then I think we will be expecting agent to do a lot of like successfully be able to do a lot of like um, sales and uh, kind of partnership type of work that able to bridge different informations together, replace the current lot of current marketplaces. Because the reason that currently we have a lot of marketplaces exist is because there's information gaps that need to bridge person A with person B to
Right.
discuss and to exchange values in that kind of a marketplace, two-sided marketplace setting. But if agents are able to autonomously conduct that, but settle the transactions of the value exchanges properly, then we can see information got really like exchanges much more efficient without these marketplaces. So, for example, selling products, right? Selling services, um, houses, all this stuff. Um, I guess the entire sort of a BD and sales and marketing landscape will be largely affected because of that as well. But yeah, but it's hard to say how soon this will happen, since the problem I was talking about is really hard.
Yeah, wow. I think once that happen, we will see a lot of shift in the market, and this is very huge. And yeah, I'm really excited to see Sahara solving the trust infrastructure problem and attributions. And thank you so much, Sean, again for coming to join us at the Redefine conference and talk us through all this big trend and big movement. Thank you.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thank you for having me.